Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis will begin Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, the Mishnah towards the bottom. So like the Mishnah, Marvin b'demai. You can make an erev with demai. Produce that was purchased from an Amaretz, the Chomer geyser that cannot be eaten unless you take your mafresh the meisers from it. So chashash, maybe the Amaretz was not mafresh the meisers. Nevertheless, you're allowed to make an erev with demai. You're allowed to make an erev with demai. If we hold not like sumchas, even though it's not edible, perhaps for the person making the erev, but it is edible for an ani, or even according to sumchas, we'll see that how is it possible to be mar with demai, even according to sumchas, the Gemara will discuss it. With meiser rishon shenitl trumasa, and with meiser rishon, where you took the trumas meiser from it. The Gemara will ask, that's pshita. Meiser sheni v'hektish sheniftu, and with meiser sheni and hektish that you were pointed with him. V'akahanim b'chala, and kahanim can be marv with chala. According to sumchas, kahanim can be marv with chala. It's a davar poshet. It's a mutter for them. According to the chachamim, it doesn't mean davka the kahanim with chala, because if you hold not like sumchas, as long as somebody can eat it, so zok derush, it's just a kahanim with chala. They are the most likely ones to have the chala. But that doesn't mean that others cannot be mar v'chala, because even a Yisrael can be mar v'chala because it's mutar for a kohen. Avaloi b'tevel, you can't be mar with tevel because tevel is also b'achila. V'loi b'meiser rishon shaloi nidle trumos, and now with meiser rishon where the trumas meiser has not been removed. V'loi b'meiser sheni v'hektish shaloi niftu, and not meiser sheni v'hektish where you weren't pointed. The Gemara will ask, this is pshita. Zok the Gemara, demai, how can you be mar with demai? Haloi chazile, it's not suitable, you can't eat it. A person can't eat demai, so how can you be mar with it? The Gemara answers, migdi boyim afkel nechse. No, he has a possibility of eating it. Meaning, even according to Simchas that holds the erev has to be edible by the person who's making the erev, but there is a possibility, and that's enough for him. As long as it's possible to eat it, you can still make an erev. How is it possible to eat the demai? He can be mafker his nechasim v'have ani v'chazalei, and become an ani is mutter for him hashanam v'chazalei. So as long as there is a possibility, he has the potential to eat it, you can use it for an erev. And now an ani, the Rabbanan were not geyser the isur demai on an ani, and therefore this person has the possibility of eating this. So Hashanah mechazalei this non machila sanim demai. You're allowed to give demai to the poor, vesachsanya demai, and the soldiers who travel from place to place. You're also allowed to feed them demai. Amar Ravuna Tana Beishamayamim Ein Machilim Sanim Demai Beishiloimer Machilan Sanim Demai. This is Lamaisa Machlaikis. But the Beis Hill holds that you are allowed to be machil. Who meiser rishon shenitla, and you're allowed to make an erev with a meiser rishon shenitla trumosa pshita more pshita. Well, if it's meiser rishon, you took trumas meiser, it's mutar b'achila. So what's the chiddush over here? The Gemara says leitzricha shegdim b'shibolim. We're talking in a case where the meiser rishon was taken and the trumas meiser was taken, but truma gedoyla was not taken. And what it means over here is that the meiser rishon, it was in the stage where it was in the stalks, it was the ears, it was not processed yet, and he was makdim, he went ahead and he gave the meiser rishon to the lady. So, and he did not give the truma gedoyla. So, in little manner trumas meiser, in little manner truma gedoyla. So you might think, well, if the truma gedoyla, the truma was not taken from here, you might think it's still tevel. Now, normally we say when you have processed grain, if you don't take the truma, then it's still considered tevel. But over here, it was in the stage where it was the shibolim. He did not take truma gedoyla. He took meiser rishon. He gave the meiser rishon to the Levi. The Levi took the trumas meiser. Okay, Rava Amar Reish Lakish, Amar Rava Amar Reish Lakish, Meiser Rishon Shegdima B'Shibolin. If you have Meiser Rishon, which were a person was mafresh, while the grain was in the ears, in the stage of Shipolim, Potter mit Truma Gedola. You don't have to give Truma Gedola anymore. You have to take Meiser, Trumas Meiser from Meiser. After the Meiser is given to the Levi gives a tenth of that to the Kohen. So Meiser min Meiser Marte Lecha V'lei Truma Gedola Trumas Meiser min Meiser. The Levi doesn't give Truma Gedola, and Trumas Meiser he only gives Trumas Meiser. So when it's in that stage, you only have to give the Trumas Meiser. So in fact, over here the Truma Gedola is not given. Nevertheless, that's the Chiddush of the Mishnah, that if you have the Meiser Rishon Shenitla the Trumas Meiser, it's Mutar B'Achila, even though the Truma Gedola was not given. Omer Le Rapa B'Labai Hachi. I feel like well, why don't you say that even if it's in the pile, it's processed, and it's all processed now, it's in a pile, and also, why don't we say the same thing? If the Truma Gedola was not given, you're mafresh the Meiser Rishon, and then the Levi gave the Trumas Meiser, should also be mutter? He says, no, that we don't say. It says, Mikol Masrei Sechem Tarim Es Trumas Hashem. You have to give from all of your Meiser. There's a riboy from all of your Meiser Trumas Hashem. So at this stage, even if there was no Truma Gedola given, but then from the Meiser you have to be mafresh Truma Gedola. writes, why should you make this distinction this way? Why do you differentiate in this manner? Maybe say the opposite way. No, high idgin, v'high lo idgin. When it's in a pile, it's considered a grain. Then it's considered a grain, and that's when you have the chiyuv. That's when the chiyuv of truma comes upon you. So that once the chiyuv of truma is chal, it doesn't go off. So therefore, even if he wasn't mafresh the truma gedolah, he was mafresh the ma'aser rishon first, the chiyuv of the truma does not go off. He still has to be mafresh the truma. But in the case where it's in the shibolim, the chiyuv of truma has not yet been chal. So therefore, if he takes the ma'aser rishon first, so therefore the chiyuv of truma will not be chal on it even later because of the pasuk that says ma'aser min ha-ma'aser. But once it's idgin, once it's dogon, it's grain, the chiyuv of truma is already chal, it doesn't go off. And you can make the erev with Meiser Rishon and Meiser Sheni and Hektish that you were pointed them. Well, Pshita, once you pointed them, they're edible. It's Mutar B'Achila, so what's the Chiddush? The Gemara says, Leit Tzricha, Shenasan Asakern, V'leinasan Asachaymish. Yes, you were pointed, but when you redeem, the owner who redeems the Meiser Sheni and Hektish, if the owner redeems it, he has to add on a fifth. Now we're talking, the Chiddush over here is where he paid the principal amount he redeemed it with, but he did not add on the extra fifth. So you might think that therefore it's not considered a valid pidyon and it's not mutar b'achila v'kamash malan de'ein chaimish ma'akev. Even though shenosan ekeren v'lo nosan es chaimish, but the chaimish is not ma'akev, it's a valid pidyon and it's mutar b'achila, you can use it for an eruv. But you cannot be mar with tevel. If I get more pshit, of course, tevel is also b'achila. The more answers, leitzrich, but tevel tovel midrabanan. We're talking even if it's a tevel which is only tevel midrabanan, which midaraisa you don't really have to be mafresh the trumas and meises. Okay, guys, Shazar about says she'ena nakuv. What's an example of that? Is if something was planted in a pot, in a flower pot that's not perforated, that doesn't have a hole, it's not considered to be growing from the ground. There's no chiyuv d'oraisa of trumas and meises, only midrabanan. Afal piken, you cannot use this for an eruv. And not with ma'aser rishon where the truma has not been given. In fact, the more pshita, of course, if you didn't take the truma, it's tevel. It's also b'achila. The more answers like tzricha sheikdim b'kri. What we're talking about is where he did not take the truma. We're talking in a case where he took the ma'aser rishon, it was already in the pile, in the kri, it was dogon, and he gave the ma'aser rishon, and he did not give the truma. And the Levi took the trumas meiser, but there was no truma gedolah given. You might think you might think like the taina that he said over there, that perhaps it should be muter kamash malan kedushanin like that. No, this is idgin. Once it's dogon, there's a chiyuv of truma, and it doesn't fall off. This is therefore considered tevel, even if the ma'aser rishon was advanced and earlier, and the Trumas Meiser was taken, it's still considered to be Tevel, and it's also Bachila. You cannot use it for an Eruv. V'loi b'Meiser Sheni v'Hektish L'I Niftu, and not with Meiser and Sheni and Hektish, that you weren't poida. In fact, the more pshit, of course, if you weren't poida the Meiser Sheni and Hektish, it's also Bachila. The Gemara says, L'I Tzricha, Shepanu, L'Pon Kil Chosen. We're not talking that he didn't redeem it at all. You were poida, but you didn't do it completely lahaloch. What is that? Meiser sheparol gabe siman. We're talking in a case with Meiser Sheni. You redeemed it, you were poided, but not with a minted coin. You were poided with a slug. Rachmana v'tzata kesef. The Torah says v'tzata kesef, and you should bind up the money. It has to be with a kesef, with a tzura, which a minted coin. To do the redemption, it's only valid if it's with a minted coin. Kesef sheyeshel of tzura, but not with an asiman. And hektish, what's the example of hektish? Shechil gami karka. You redeemed it, but you redeemed it with land. It says kesef, it has to be kesef. So of course, if you didn't redeem it at all, it's not valid, and it's also bachila, and you cannot use it for an eruv. But we're talking where there was a redemption, but it's teaching you these halachas that these are, if he did it in this manner, this is not considered a valid redemption, and it's also bachila, cannot use it therefore for an eruv. And so the eruv has to be placed where the person wants to be kind of his shvisa. The eruv has to be placed, and it has to be placed in that area, and then the person is kind of shvisa. That's considered his dwelling for the onset of Shabbos, and from there he has 2,000 amas for Schum Shabbos. Like the Mishnah, Hashaleach Eruv, of a person sends his eruv, Biad Cheresh V'Katan, in the hands of a Cheresh V'Katan, or Biad Mishein Moed Eruv, or somebody that's not Moed with halach of eruv. For instance, like a kusi, ain't no eruv. It's not a valid eruv. In order to be a valid eruv, it has to be placed in the proper place with the proper intent. And these people are therefore not, we cannot rely, or they're not assumed to be capable of having the proper intent and carrying out the proper action. So if he does it, he puts it in the hands of a Cheresh Yad Mishen Moed Eruv, it's not a valid eruv. But if he but if he just sends these people just as a messenger, and he sends a Yisrael Bar Das to accept it from them and take it from them, so the one that's really been kind of the shvisa for the Mishaleach is the one that's being makabel. So therefore, if he sends someone else to be accepted from these people who is a Gadol Bar Das, a Yisrael, then it's a valid eruv. Practically more of a cotton. You tell me that a cotton cannot be a shaliach for the eruv. I've Amar of Huna cotton goyves eruv. It says that he can collect the eruv, what you need for eruv chotzeres, that you gather the food from everybody that lives in the courtyard. The cotton can be the one to gather and collect it from all of the people. So don't you see over here that the cotton could be the one to make the eruv, to be a shaliach for the eruv? The Gemara says, like Kasha, kan be Eruvei Tchumim, kan be Eruvei Chatzeres. There's a chilik between Eruvei Tchumim and a Chatzeres. By Eruvei Chatzeres, it's not you're not being kind anything. It's not an act of acquisition. You're just gathering the food, depositing in one house. So therefore, it's considered like everybody lives in that house. You don't need an act of kinyan to be Tchumim. The case of Tchumim is you need a kinyan. And you have to be kind of shvisa. The cotton cannot be kind of shvisa. The cotton cannot be kind of shvisa for the eruvei tchumim, for the tchumim, which requires an act of a kinyan. The cotton is not capable of doing that. That's the Shitas Rashi. Shitas Taisus is that even by eruvei tchumim, that a cotton could do it. It's just that by Eruvei Tchumim, since it has an smach from the Pasuk, it's more chomer than Eruvei Chatzeres. We're just concerned that the cotton will not carry out the shlichus. So over there, we have to ensure that we see him, that the act is done, that he actually fulfills it and carries out the act. But Taisus learns, as opposed to Rashi, that there's nothing fundamentally different in Eruvei Chatzeres and Tchum in this regard, and the Kohen himself could actually make the Eruv of the Erev Tchumim, as opposed to Rashi, who says that he can't. So the Gemara says, man, who is that person? What is the example of somebody that's not Moed Be'erev that you cannot use for a shliach? He's not Moed with the laws of Erev, so we are chayshish that he will not have the proper intent when he does it, or he won't carry it out, so he cannot be the shliach. But if you ask someone else to accept it from it, it's a valid error. Why aren't we concerned that he will not carry it out, that he won't bring it to the place that he's supposed to? So the Gemara says, like we see Rav Chisda says, we'll see shortly in what context he says it. We're talking where you watch and see that the person actually does it. So here also, that you have to see and watch that the Kohen brings it to the place where he's supposed to, and that the other person, the Acher, is makabel from him and accepts it from him. But you have to see that the Kohen takes it to where he's supposed to take it to. Well, why aren't we concerned that the Acher, the other person that he designated, will not take the Eruv from the Kohen? Why aren't we concerned about the other person? So more answers. That we're not concerned about, because if he's a valid shaliach, if he's a kosher shaliach, there's a chazaka, the shaliach is a shlichusa. So for the Kohen, you can't rely that the Kohen, the minor, that he will fulfill it. There you have to watch and see that he takes it to the designated place. But once he does that, there's a chazaka that the achia, the shaliach is a shlichusa, he'll accept it from him. Well, that what we said, that Rav Chisda said that where is it, in what context did Rav Chisda and Rav Yechiel say this? It said on the following: he gave it to an elephant to carry it, or to a monkey. So you have a trained elephant or trained monkey to carry out the Erev. It's not a valid Erev. And we don't know if he had to give it to the animal can't have the proper kavanah to do it. So that's not a valid error. But if he appoints somebody else to accept it from the elephant or the monkey, then it's a valid error. So then we see, the intent to be kind of the error is from the achir, from the shaliach. But still, how do you know that the animal will carry it to the designated place? So this they said, that we watch and we see that he takes it to the place that he's supposed to. But still, perhaps the shaliach, the achir, will not take it from him. Then Amar Vichiel Chazak Shliach Oisa Shlichusa. There's a Chazaka that a Shliach Oisa Shlichusa. So once you see that the animal is taken to the designated place, we can rely that the Shliach will carry out and fulfill his Shlichus.